Which is better, the left side or the right side? Let's find it out in a moment. So these are the flashable and upgradable mod chips. What you saw earlier is the SD loader screen. Under the stock condition, you will see this image when booting the console without the SD card. When flashed with the Hwfly-NX, you will see this image. For your information, they work out of the box. So even if you use the stock firmware, you can still boot your console to the CFW environment. But it is up to you if you want to flash it with the Hwfly-NX, because each firmware has its pros and cons. And in this video, I will show you some insight. Let's assume you already know how to install the mod chip. And next, we will compare the time taken for the mod chip training session. Let's see how long it takes to get to the SD loader screen if you use the stock firmware and the MMC brand is Hwfly-NX. It takes 50 seconds to train the mod chip and reach the initial SD loader screen. To turn it off, press and hold the power button for 3 seconds. And now, let's see how long it takes to get to the SD loader screen after completing the training session. The first try is about 6 seconds. The second try is about 9 seconds. The third time is instantaneous. The fourth time is about 3 seconds. And the fifth time is about 2 seconds. And the sixth time is about 2 seconds. So the boot process takes about 3 seconds on average. Now let's see how long it takes for the Hwfly-NX to complete the initial training session. It takes about 1.5 minutes to get into the initial SD loader screen. To turn off the console, press the power button once. Now let's test the boot time after completing the training session. The first try is 1 second. The second try is instantaneous. The third try is again instantaneous. The fourth try is 2 seconds. And the fifth try is 1 second. So the boot process takes about 1 second on average, which is faster than the stock firmware. These are the features of the stock firmware. Remember, to use the stock firmware, do not flash the chip with the Hwfly-NX. You will see this SD loader screen if you turn on the console without the SD card. Pressing the volume up and down will move the rocket left and right, and it will shoot a missile if we press the power button. So we have a rocket game here. Cool, isn't it? To turn off the console, press the power button for 3 seconds. On the bottom right of the screen, you can see the battery percentage and the mod chip firmware version. It will open the mod chip internal menu by pressing and holding the volume up button, followed by pressing the power button. Press the volume buttons to move the cursor and the power button to confirm the selection. You can see the default chip settings. If you want to boot to the OFW, we can press and hold the volume down button, followed by pressing the power button. And as I said previously, to open this menu, press and hold the volume up button, followed by pressing the power button. Auto HOS off means the chip will automatically turn off the console 15 seconds after the screen goes dark if we shut down the console from HOS. HOS means the Horizon operating system or the console's operating system. In other words, HOS means the home screen, either OFW, SysMMC, or the MUMMC. You can use the restore chip menu to reset or retrain the chip. If someday we have a new firmware for the mod chip, we can use the update firmware menu to update it. Let's try pressing and holding the volume down button, followed by pressing the power button. If you see the N logo, it means it is loading the OFW. Now let's turn off the console. And insert a microSD card containing the boot files. I use my head spec. You will load Hecate. To boot to the OFW, press reboot, then select OFW. Now let's turn off the console. To get to the OFW with the microSD card inserted, press and hold the volume down button, then press the power button. Now let's turn off the console. And then let's prove it if the chip blinks again after 15 seconds. Did you see it? If we disable the Auto HOS Off feature, the console will reboot to any payload inside the microSD card or the SD loader screen if nothing is inserted. It is not a chip problem, but it is naturally like that. This phenomenon occurs every time we turn off the console from HOS. And these are the features of the Hwfly-NX firmware. You will see this SD loader screen if we turn on the console without inserting the SD card. To turn off the console, press the power button once. To boot to the OFW, press both volume buttons on the SD loader screen. Now let's turn off the console. And again, we can expect the chip to turn on in 15 seconds after the screen goes off. Since there is no instant off feature like the Auto HOS Off, we need to press the power button to turn it off or wait for 2 minutes until the chip triggers the shutdown process. I will show this feature in a moment. And now let's insert a microSD card containing the head spec. To boot to the OFW, press reboot, then select OFW. Now let's turn off the console. To fully utilize the Hwfly-NX toolbox inside the microSD card, press and hold the volume up button, then press the power button. And make sure you can see the green LED blinking inside the console. Now press Payloads and select Hwfly-NX Toolbox. Since the Hwfly-NX doesn't have built-in menus inside the firmware, it needs a tool like a payload to show its features. We can see a lot of menus inside this payload, which is self-explanatory. To update or backup the Hwfly-NX firmware, use the firmware menu. To update or backup the SD loader, use the SD loader menu. If you want to experiment with the training session result, you can utilize the train data menu. If you want to know the glitch session information or make the chip slip, use the miscellaneous menu. Now let's turn off the console. And remove the microSD card from it. And turn it on. And as I said previously, the Hwfly-NX will shut down the console if you leave it on the SD loader screen for 2 minutes. In this section, I will show you how to reset the chip. If the chip is not booting or the boot process is slow or not consistent, you can try to reset the chip. To do that, we need to short these 2 pins together using a tweezer while turning on the console. So short those 2 pins and press the power button. The LED will turn white, then blue, then the console will boot to OFW. If the console cannot boot to OFW, various possibilities exist, like fuse mismatch, dead eMMC chip, corrupted NAND, etc. Now turn off the console. Then turn on the console again to retrain the chip. You can follow this guide if you have decided to flash your mod chip with other firmware. For your information, we can flash the chip before or after it is installed inside the console. Plug the USB connector into the mod chip socket. Make sure the upward is facing you, or you will damage the chip. And then plug the other end to your Windows PC. The LED will turn yellow. On this screen, you can see two firmware packs. One is the stock firmware and the other one is the Hwfly-NX. And I've added some files inside those packs for flashing purposes. Before flashing the chip, let's open the device manager. Look for the COM port. Click View and select Show Hidden Devices. Delete the unused COM port. Close the device manager. Now extract the Hwfly-NX firmware pack into a folder. Open that folder. Double-click the f1.bat file to flash the bootloader. If you encounter an error while running the f1.bat file, please remove the USB plug, reconnect, delete the unused COM port, and rerun the f1.bat file. Now double-click the f2.bat file to flash the firmware. After flashing the mod chip with the Hwfly-NX, the LED will blink blue and you are ready to use it. Please follow this guide if you want to revert the chip to stock firmware. Extract the stock firmware pack into a folder. Open that folder and run the f1.bat file. If you encounter an error, you know what to do. Now run the f2.bat file. And the mod chip LED will be back to yellow. And that's how we flash the chip. Please do it with caution or else you will damage the chip. I want to reconfirm that each mod chip firmware has its pros and cons, and the mod chip works out of the box without needing to flash it first. In the end, the boot process is more or less similar, and the utility or the toolbox has the same concept. But, of course, the Hwfly-NX toolbox has some advanced features. One fatal issue found on the Hwfly-NX is it doesn't work on Arista. If I were you, I would stick with the stock firmware. And if you have an issue with it, or want to experiment with the Hwfly-NX, you are free to flash it. Thanks for watching this video.